Hello everyone, good day to all of you, and I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to do a review on a bit of a smaller part today, but an interesting one in my opinion, talking about the Overbore Systems SWVL light mount. So what makes this cool is that this is a light mount for the Surefire Scout pattern of lights. In my case, I'm using a full-size Cloud Rain 2.0, but the cool thing is this does kind of the same thing that the Surefire Pro mounts do, where you have an articulating hinge, which you can see right there. Works identically, so if you are familiar with those light mounts, that's all this really does. The main reason that I got this is for this rifle, though I am going to talk about a bit of its interaction with, for example, if you're trying to mount it underneath a laser aiming module. But specifically on this rifle, the reason that I really like this mount and the reason I chose it is because a lot of the light mounts out there on the market, at least the ones that I had on hand that I was trying to test to get this to work on here, I wanted a nice close fit, but they were all either colliding because they're designed around a AR rail where it's much more just kind of circular, whereas on an AK, of course, it is a lot longer vertically, you can see here. So I had a lot of issues with fitment. Any of them that would fit, I didn't like how much they stuck out. So this really solves both of those issues, and I'm unloaded here. So what you can see right here is just look at how close, in fact, flipping the light cap up so you can see this easier, but you can just see how close the light is to the rail itself. And I really like that. It's a lot cleaner, just a bit less of a profile overall. I did test this, although I'm using it on here. I will overlay. I already recorded some footage testing this on my G95 inspired build, which is the one that has a laser aiming module, just so you can kind of see some of the fitment and how it clears that. To demonstrate how close you can get the light to the handguard when you're using the swivel mount, which is what I have right here, just loosened up just for demonstration purposes. So by comparison, on the right of the camera, on the left actually of the rifle, this is actually the same light, Cloud 2.0 in both cases. This is on an Arisaka Picatinny offset mount. I'm just going to dry fit this. Just focus on the light head itself. So you can see right here, just ignore the light cap because it'll look a little bit deceptive if you focus on that. So you can see, of course, with how it's oriented currently, the lowest point of articulation is down to here. And of course you could flip this over and get much lower. And then the highest it can go is all the way up here to where it's actually touching the Rate XE right up there. You can see the profile of this. If I were to mount the swivel mount on the other side here, you could get ever so slightly closer and then just be a pretty nice and clean setup. This is very configurable. So one option I probably could do and that I am going to test. So for example, you could take the base right here, and this is the Picatinny one. They do make an M-Lock one as well, but right now you can see the hinge up here is on the very top. One option you could do is to just reverse this and then of course flip your light 180 as well, and then you could have the hinge offset to the bottom and you could run this a little bit lower overall. One other thing you can change here as well, depending on how you want it to fit against the rail, is you can see the plate here. So of course you can see two Torx heads. Always love Torx heads. And on this plate, I do have it towards the outside. Of course, as you might imagine from me mentioning that you can reverse the base and everything. Similarly, you could reverse this hinging portion with the plate on it. So if you don't like the plate sticking out, you can mount that towards the inside instead. One thing to keep in mind though, is you will have more on, just the side towards the rail. So you could potentially run into an issue where it just sticks out more than you would like on the handguard. Which is, it's going to be a little bit of a trade-off either way. In this case, I have more of just the plate sticking out to the side, but I do like just having the light itself more in. It'll depend what you want. If you get it a little bit further out, of course, you'll have a little bit less shadow being cast from your suppressor or your front sight post or whatever else you have going on there. That'll also depend on how far back or forward you have your light. In my case, it's pretty far back because I just have a standard length AK handguard, so everything is a little bit further back from what is ideal, but it still works pretty well. This installs like pretty much any other light mount out there as well. Nothing too different in that regard. Just one thing is to make sure that you do torque down the hinge portion. Again, this right here. Do make sure to torque that down to spec. I think they give 30 to, I know it's 35 on the upper side, 35 inch-pounds. So if you don't have that tight enough, of course, this will want to move on its own. So yeah, just make sure you have that nice and tight. On the note, as I did mention Torx head earlier, this one is just a hex head, but everything else on here is Torx. So of course, the two on the plate to hold in the light, and then the actual screw that bolts onto the Picatinny, that is also a Torx head. Now the swivel, both their M-LOK and their Picatinny versions, they are a little bit more on the expensive side as far as a light mount is concerned, but it's not I would say it's not overpriced, or at least doesn't feel that bad either. So fairly reasonably priced. I would say more on the expensive side just a little bit, but yeah, not bad. Overall, I like this light mount. I'm not sure if I would recommend it for every single use case. Like I said, it is a bit more on the expensive side, and if you have something like an AR, for instance, I don't think you're going to get much more out of this light mount compared to what you would with, say, my own personal favorite usually is like the Cloud Defensive Torrent mounts. Those are quite nice. Arasaka mounts as well. You know, a lot of those light mounts are really optimized for an AR rail, so they already fit really, really close anyway. And in a lot of those, they're just one piece. There's less going on, so I haven't had any issues with this, even though it is two pieces, right? The articulating section and the base, but I just figure if you don't need to have those two parts, then why not just get a one-piece mount? A lot of the other ones out there are like that, but where this does shine, particularly, I think, is on an irregularly shaped handguard, whether that's an AK like here, or you have some other type of rifle that similarly doesn't particularly conform to the AR specs of having that really narrow, round type of handguard. But even if you do mount this to an AR, one of the big advantages of this, of course, is since it's articulating, you can mount this right there next to your laser aiming module, even if it blocks some of the zeroing, for example, the windage screw, which in the case of my Raid XE, for instance, if I were to mount this on the left side, that would block the windage screw. Similarly, on the right side where I was testing it, that blocked the cross bolts if I ever need to remove the laser aiming module in a hurry. Then you can just undo the hinge here, just flip this down, and then you have access to everything on your laser. So that is nice, even if you don't need this particular mount just for all the other clearances that I was talking about. So thank you all for watching this review on the Overbore Systems Swivel light mount. Greatly appreciate it, especially if you made it through the whole video. And hopefully, if you were interested in this light mount, then hopefully this did answer any questions you may have had. If not, by all means, do feel free to leave those in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you, especially any actual questions. I will try to respond. Any other comments, of course, are always welcome as well. Thank you all for watching, and take care. Hope to see you all in the next one. See you then.